So a question that I see a bunch of people asking is, are GPNVGs worth it for $40,000? This is honestly probably one of the most useless unboxings on YouTube, simply because this is a product that is highly regulated and also very expensive. So it's very hard for the average individual to go out and buy these. But recently I acquired these for some training and some testing that we were doing and thought, you know what? Why don't we make a video actually showing what is in the package, what these actually include, and then show you guys kind of how they work. So without further ado, these are the GPNVG 18 night vision goggles that were made famous and made popular by the film Zero Dark 30 and other media since then, such as the latest Call of Duty game, other things like that. Now quad nods, antlers are, they're now an icon for American Special Operations in the pop culture community and also in the firearms community. So what we have here is this lovely plastic hard case that includes the goggles inside, after it is also surrounded in nice padding in this very large case. That's pretty cool. I mean, you are spending a lot of money. It better be pretty well protected. So you obviously have your goggles right here, like so. Again, these are not airsoft, as you guys already know. It comes with a standard PBS 31 style battery pack that takes 4 AA's. This one is actually hydro dipped in multicam, which is kind of fun, kind of cool. Probably end up spray painting it green and black. It's got its manuals, which nobody reads, but you probably should. The standard BN, it says BN VS cable. It has a Fisher connector. It plugs right into here, plugs directly into the night vision unit itself. Little compass adapter if you decide to move a compass into this unit, which is super cool. And this is actually really fun. It includes this little battery piece, which actually allows you to detach one of the modules here and run it as a handheld unit, if that's something you want to do. I don't know how many guys are actually doing that, probably not very many. But something that I really like about this particular unit is how user serviceable it actually is. It uses commercially available intensifier tubes, so you can swap those out if need be. The bridge is polymer, reinforced polymer of some sort, with some very simple screws to be able to take apart and move things around. You can detach each side if you need to with some really simple Allen wrenches and flathead screwdrivers and whatnot to be able to get those out. And then the bridge itself is also removable. And this is a standard dovetail mount. And then you have the cable just plugs in here to the side. The older models of these actually required that you use the DPAM Wilcox mount or the GSGM mount, which actually had a battery built in. So if you didn't have the battery pack attached to the unit itself, you could actually get a little bit of runtime off of it. But this particular unit, this is the new ruggedized mount version. This is a 2020 model quad nod, requires that you run a battery pack. So basically, if I run around with this for whatever reason, I kind of have to keep this with it and keep these plugged in if I want to use them. Even if I want to just hand hold this right now, I have to be holding this battery pack attached to this unit somehow. There's no place for a battery to be installed on this unit. It requires a battery pack. But that's also important because this thing does weigh a little bit, so I need some counterweight anyway, and that's where this can come in handy, and that's pretty convenient. But all in all, pretty simple what comes out of the package. There's not a lot of parts, and it's pretty simple, and it's not too complicated. So So this particular helmet setup is a Team Wendy bump. I have this for when I want something that's a little more cool, a little more lightweight than my OpsCore Ballistic. The downside to this is it's a very lightweight helmet, so once I add these, which are obviously a little heavy, I'm forced to run a little bit more counterweight in the back. So something that I did is I took 2 lead weights, and normally they come in a special pouch, and so you have all this stuff on your helmet. I didn't like that, so I removed the lead weights out, and I actually put Velcro hook on one side, loop on the other, so I can actually add as many of those as I want to my helmet, which in this case is 2, and then I can throw my battery pack on the back. So I have some simple shot cord that is holding down the battery pack, because you don't want to rely on just the Velcro to hold one of these down. The Hellstar strobe back here helps as additional weight in the rear. Then I have the bungees obviously attached to the front, which are pretty necessary for the quads. Sword ends attached with Unity marks. And then I have a Surefire over here with a standard sort of a rifle mount, M-LOK mount that I'm able to slot right into there. So looks like a bunch of stuff, but it's actually still quite lightweight even with the quads, and I can move pretty quick with this, and I like it. It's a sweet little setup. So something that I'm noticing with the quads, if I'm stopping violently, I'm really stomping my feet to decelerate, is I get a lot of wobble with the night vision itself. And that's just due to some of the weight with this particular setup. I have a Wilcox mount, obviously this is the extended G24 essentially, but there's just a lot of movement in the night vision itself, and I'm seeing it flop around. So that's obviously something that's kind of interesting that I'm noticing, really running and gunning with these pretty hard. If I'm moving smoothly, walking a little slower, moving a little slower, it's no problem, no big deal. You don't really get any movement in the night vision, even with a fast head turn. But a fast deceleration from a full sprint, I'm getting a lot of movement with the night vision itself, which I don't get with something like PVS 31s. So right now it's pitch black with the amount of trees blocking the moonlight, but I have front IR, side IR, and my rear doesn't really work right now with the current positioning. Blackout switch kills the brake lights and a bunch of the interior, not all of it. So I have this little opaque covering that I built to go in the cover the heads-up display, dim it down a little bit. And I'm going about 50 on this dirt road, and it's not bad. This is where the quads really come in handy. I can see a little more of my surroundings, about as much as my IRs are throwing off. And if I just look to the right slightly, I can still see the road to my left, which is really nice. So if I look at you, I can still see the road to some extent with my additional field of view, or if I check my mirror, I can still see the front. Whereas with a dual or a single, you're restricted to exactly what you're looking at. So I can look at my rear view mirror, my left mirror, which is the only one that's focused, and I can still see the road and stay on track. Just pretty convenient. I can keep up my speed on this windy dirt road, going 50, and yeah, it's totally awesome. Alright, so let's talk about setting up the quads. So this is my little night vision box. I've got a couple helmets in here, 31s, some pistols with some weird lasers and stuff like the D-Ball PL. So we'll get through some of these lasers, get underneath, and here's the little box of quads. So they are like so. And what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to be running this bump helmet, I've got these two little lead weights back here in the back because running the quads kind of requires a little more counterweight than just a standard battery pack with this PVS 31 battery pack. If I go to use my ballistic helmet, this OpsCore SF, I'll get all this stuff out of it. All I have to add is one little lead counterweight because it's already pretty heavy, being a ballistic helmet, so I don't have to do as much. I could just throw the quads on as is, but I do want to add one lead weight. So we're going to go under here because I was running this earlier. Pull one of the lead weights. I'll just pull both off the helmet. So throw one of the lead weights back into the box. And what we'll do is we'll just position it underneath the battery pack. And what it is, I'll show you. It's just a standard little lead weight that comes with, this came from a TNVC battery pack thingy, but I don't like having the entire pouch because there's no reason in my opinion. But I just took the lead weight itself, added Velcro hook and then Velcro loop, and so I can just throw that right on. Super convenient. So now I've got a single weight. Now to attach the mount, what I'm going to do, or the night vision, I'm going to pull my standard G24 because typically what I've found with the quads is it wants a little more extension, especially if you're wearing iPro. So this is the extended G24, G20, it's not the 26, I can't remember what the name of it is. And this was previously set up on this other helmet with the quads, and as you can see, it's jacked all the way forward. So now I'll take the quads, let's dovetail, slide that in, and then obviously it's going to need the bungees. Now this new OpsCore helmet, they're tucked into the mount, which is pretty cool, or the shroud, I should say. So once you've got those on, obviously the quads require a battery pack, and what's really nice is the new GPNVGs run off of a standard, they call it a cold weather pack, but it's standard PVS 31 battery pack. So I don't have to switch this out as I'm running 31, so I'm not having to go to a weird battery pack system. So take this cable, standard Fisher connector, slot that in, and I am ready to go. There's obviously a little bit of wobble in here, and that's just due to obviously all the weight. The mount itself, there's just a lot of different stuff going on, which is why you want the bungees in place. And I've got my cable, make sure they're off, they are, and I am ready to go with this setup. Yeah, they're pretty sick.
To 15.
So this is the kind of drill we're having. Panoramic night vision obviously helps a great deal. So I've got 5 USPSA targets that are pretty wide, forcing some pretty wide transitions. And I've got Steve over here calling numbers for me, and I'm having to scan through these, not having looked at them very much beforehand, and try and take my shots. Difference with my night vision versus what Steve is using is from my position here at 7 yards out, I can see all the targets in one go because of all of my field of view that these quads are giving me. Whereas Steve with PVS 31s can really only see 1, sometimes 2 targets at a time. So he's having to be a lot more deliberate scanning each target with his tubes, his only tubes, in order to see them. Whereas with these 2 tubes on the sides, what I was able to get away with in some cases here is kind of picking up on certain numbers or shapes that are familiar to me. He calls 7. I kind of know what a 7 looks like. I see it in my right tube while I'm in the process of engaging, and I can move over. So a little faster in this case right here, which is pretty cool. And ultimately, that's the benefit of night vision like this, is the ability to see more, and that is pretty evident in a drill just like this one.
695.
15, 5, 10. Six, 13.
Nine, 14, 7.
Whenever night vision is discussed, you see people complaining about the cost of said product. And it's totally reasonable, and a lot of people out there just say it should be cheaper, not understanding how the manufacturing and the technology is created. But there's a point that I don't see very many people making that I'd like to make. Obviously, people want to have the ability to fly, and they also, many of them, want to have the ability to breathe underwater. Not very many people talk about the ability to see at night, but if we break these down, the ability to breathe underwater costs about $1,000 to $2,500, going and getting scuba training and then actually acquiring your own gear. Then you have to travel somewhere to actually do the thing, unless you have a swimming pool at home or maybe you live on the beach. So you're looking at maybe $500 to $1,000 per trip, unless you go somewhere really exotic. The ability to fly costs anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 with powered paragliding. That includes training and the equipment. So getting into night vision, the ability to see at night, can cost as little as $3,000. It's about as much as scuba diving if you're really interested in doing that. And then obviously you can go all the way up to this, being $30,000+ to get the good stuff, just like you might do if you wanted to get a good paraglider, which might be $50,000. And so it's something I don't see people bringing up very often, but this stuff right here is literally the ability to let you see at night. And something that I really appreciate about this particular product is the massive strides that are occurring with night vision. It's quite possible that quad night vision like this that gives people more peripheral is going to become a thing for more people in the years to come. Even though some of this technology is still restricted, the technology is making major advancements. With these, you have the ability to obviously see much wider, have a little more peripheral, so it starts to become more natural when it comes to actually seeing at night. So even though these are highly regulated and restricted, they're not illegal to own, I might say. They're just hard to purchase. They can't be commercially sold, and generally you have to be somebody working in the industry or be a distributor or something of that nature to actually own them, unless you go out and just spend a ton of money on a set that maybe fell off a truck or something. But it's important to look at and consider the technology out there that is currently still regulated and restricted, because down the road that will become open source for the broader community. So we may see quad nods becoming a thing. I would expect in the next 5 or 10 years being totally normal. It's what everyone has. Bino nods will be a thing of the past, kind of like PVS-7s are, and quads will be the future because it just lets you see more. At the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to be able to see in the dark. Alphas, 2 Charlies. Are GPMVGs worth it for $40,000? Well, the answer isn't yes or no. The answer, and I've seen a few people say, please don't say depends. It depends. It's completely dependent on how much time you can use them, what you need, what you can afford, and this is answering the question for a private citizen. If these were available for purchase online, just like that, like any other product, and they were $39.99, whatever, $40,000, should most people buy them? Probably not. If you make $50,000 a year, should you buy these? No, that's a horrible investment. Should you finance these? No, absolutely not. It's really stupid strategy investment. Don't do that. It really just comes down to based on what you need and what you can afford. Most people would be better served starting out with a white phosphor PBS14 and then graduating from there to a white phosphor DTNVG. Now, if there was a $18,000 to $20,000 commercial option on the market, that would be a different discussion. But these for $40,000, that's a lot of money. I don't think they're worth it for that. But obviously the US government pays whatever they want, and the guys that have them, well, they have them.